Hello everyone and welcome back to the Villager Trading Castle. You can see in the distance we've done the ground floor, we've done a few things off stream, and we're just making it settle in a little bit more. Today we will basically work up the upper two floors and then do some more detailing to the facades. See, panning in, we just have a few more builds. So we finished the roof on this little building here, just doing some few things off stream so that we can kind of jump ahead in the build. As you can see, we've filled in the facade, we've put a variety of different stones and cobblestone, and we used netherrack as a feature material. We used up and down stairs to add shadow gap details, and we've worked out a way where the netherrack is in small increments to create it as a feature. Panning to the front, you can see that we've filled in the sides, we've built these little details in that look like windows that are filled in, and we've built this sort of element that protrudes out, which will also be sort of a detail tower in the facade, just to make this a little bit more dominating than the side elevations. You can see what we've done is used netherrack on the central core of each tower, and we've put netherrack fences on the outside, and we've just used little slabs, stone slabs, to terminate it, just to give it that extra little bit of detail. You can see I've basically worked around the sides. This side here is a replication of the other side, so that way it's quite a simple design where two sides are replications. So once you've sorted out one facade, you can replicate it on the other. You create a main facade, which is the front entrance, which is why I've put the tower in, and to the rear we've got the stair core, which will need to be worked out because the stair core is a functional aspect of the building. You can see here I've started piling up the other floors, which are 8 blocks high, and then used stone bricks to kind of terminate to show where the floor level is. Internally, you can see I've used these dark oak wooden bays. The larger bottom bit, which is basically the bit where the villagers trade, and then the small 2 block high is basically where we put the pistons for the floor above. You can see I'm just quickly erecting all the external faces of the towers just to give myself a frame, and then doing the internal ones just to make sure everything suits, and we can then start putting the floors in. See here that it's kind of a systematic approach, so it's designed of this villager trading hall that lives centrally, and making sure you can have some circulation around the villager trading components, like all the pistons, the redstone, and everything that's hidden away behind the facade. And then you just separate each of it by floor, and then eventually you can start filling in and detailing it and making it a little bit more interesting. Panning across here, you can see that we've done, this will be the floors of the next 2 floors. So we've done 1 floor, done 2 floors above. Once we've done the floors, we basically have the villagers on this side, and the villagers will be shuffled across in minecarts in through the main facade, so that it makes it easier to get them in on each floor, and if they die or something happens to them, basically bring them in again and replace them. Panning around to this side, you can see that we've started to the detailing on the first floor. You can see I've used up and down netherrack stairs above the windows. On the ground floor I started with glass, but I felt this was a bit too modern, so I probably will change that up for the metal fences. Panning to the front, you can see that I started this circular detail with a sort of oval shaped view into the floor, and then I'll try and replicate this on the larger floor above. Either side we've got 2 block high windows, and panning inside you can see the stone is basically where the villagers' job is, and I'm basically placing the holes in the floors for the zombies to walk behind it, putting slabs in that sits between the frames. something that I usually do is I like to build the outer frame, fill in with some sort of generic component materials, something that looks a little bit more interesting, and then eventually start going in with the detailing to work out how it suits the facade. I use the scaffolding to go up, to come down, try and look at how it looks from a distance and how it looks close up, and it's always this play on how these components go together. You can see I've kind of started to fill in the first floor, and the towers on the sides are all nearly there, but I will probably replicate the netherrack fences that sit on the outside on the upper floors. Working on the front facade, you can see I've done a similar approach. I've tried to do a little bit more intricate detailing just to give it a little bit more oomph, give it sort of a focal point to the build. It's something that I quite like to do, is where you use a certain material but try and vary up in one sort of place to give it more dominance, and then this sort of variation creates a sort of a feature within the build. That way, if you do it on all the facades, it then just looks like a horrible mess, and it makes your job easier because you just make one part of the build really cool, really interesting, a focal point, and the rest of it's just a small subtle interpretation of that. This was probably one of the hardest bits. You can see all the scaffolding going around, using stone stairs, slabs and that, going up and down, trying to make it look a little bit more interesting, testing out different slabs, cobblestone, smooth stone, and then in the netherrack as well. Then filling the sides in with cobblestone stairs and trying to just give play around a different variation. Panning around to the front, you can see kind of how it's turned out. You can see how these little shadow gaps appear and how these stairs basically add some depth to the facade. You can see the netherrack then replicates to the towers and the turrets that sit around, and it's this sort of 3-component palette that I like to use. In this case it's the stone and cobble, because the cobble has a slightly different material face to it, and then you've got the dominant netherrack. But panning around, we've put the netherrack stairs in, we've put the slabs above and below. You can see it kind of creates a sort of circular approach to it, and it differentiates the floor levels. See here, we've done the three floors now. What I will do is then the facade, this left facade, will replicate on the other side, and then this means the front facade I can then work up the detail. You can see I've basically put these windows in, and then I'm filling in the bits that are the redstone components sit within the floor. Then I'm filling in with just a variety of different detailing just to give it a little bit more interest in the build. And then at night time you can see when the light reflects outwards. This is kind of what we're building. We've built quite a lot, which I tried to focus on a lot of this detailing, and I hadn't already a palette, so it comes out pretty well. I think it looks pretty cool, and when you zoom out from the distance it just quite looks dominating within the area, but once we start adding the towers on top it will look a little bit more interesting and it will look more like a castle. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy the video, feel free to give me a like and a comment below. Thank you everyone, goodbye.